I'd like to now introduce Ms. Deborah Park. Ms. Park is the External Relations Coordinator at the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism of the Republic of Korea. Since January 2016, Deborah has been serving as the main point of contact at MCST regarding international cooperation in the field of tourism, including the UNWTO, OECD, G20, ASEAN +3 and APEC. I'd like to welcome Deborah to the stage now, and I'll pass it across to you.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. Well, good morning, afternoon, and evening, depending on wherever you are in the world. Greetings from Korea. Like I've been introduced right now, my name is Deborah Park, and I work for the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism of the Republic of Korea. It is most definitely an honor and pleasure to be presenting Korea's case on day 3 of the APEC workshop series, Innovation in Digital Tourism for MSMEs post-COVID-19, which Korea is proud to co-sponsor. So before I start, I would just like to take this opportunity to thank our Australian colleagues for organizing such a wonderful workshop under the TWG umbrella. I feel sorry that I wasn't able to participate in day 1 and 2 because from what Stephen has been talking about, it definitely sounds very interesting, and I'll be looking forward to the final digital publication of the entire workshop. So if I may start my presentation today, next slide, please. So basically what I want to talk to you about today is what Korea is doing in terms of digital transformation and empowering MSMEs. But before I dive straight into the main topic on what Korea is doing to support the digital transformation of tourism enterprises, especially for MSMEs, I will briefly touch upon the tourism situation in Korea. That is the impact of the COVID-19 on the tourism sector. And then I will present you with different kinds of support initiatives that Korea is currently implementing or planning to implement within this year. And finally, just to touch upon the challenges that we're facing in the course of implementing these initiatives and how we plan to move forward and onwards. Next slide, please. So this is what pre-COVID looked like before the COVID-19 outbreak. Like any other economy in the APEC region, like the rest of the world, Korea was actually doing pretty okay in terms of numbers on inbound tourists, despite some rough years like 2015 because we had the MERS, another coronavirus, and 2017 for political tension, but still we were doing okay, and we managed to reach a record high of 17.5 million inbound international tourists in 2019. But then, as we all know, came the COVID-19 pandemic. Next slide, please. So this is the number that I'm presenting to you. Having been one of the first countries to be heavily affected, severely affected by the COVID-19 outbreak outside mainland China, it goes without saying that the tourism market of Korea has been also very hard hit by the pandemic, like any other economy in the APEC region. We have experienced approximately a minus of 85% decrease in both inbound and outbound tourists last year. And although the exact amount of the tourism revenue loss of the country is unclear since we're still crunching the numbers, big data that we have collected from credit card companies indicate that people have been spending less on tourism operations, like 83%. And approximately 50% less on hotels and accommodations in 2020 compared to the previous year. Well, actually, I don't know how you do it in other economies, but in Korea, when we say the tourism sector, it's defined under the Tourism Promotion Act and excludes the aviation industry. But since tourism is such a cross-cutting sector within its nature, if we look at the aviation industry, it also had like a 70% drop of card spending. So overall, there is no doubt that the tourism sector is still struggling to survive under this unprecedented crisis. Although Korea per se, tourism only contributes to less than 5% of our GDP. So we're doing better on the bigger economy, I guess, but still the tourism sector is very much devastated. Next slide, please. So against this backdrop, the Korean government has established the following as its policy vision for 2021 this year to face the crisis as an opportunity to strengthen competitiveness through market recovery and innovation. So in order to realize this vision, we have three major strategies. And the first, so 1/3 of it, a big size of it, relies on to support the innovation of the tourism industry. Next slide, please. So, well, based on these strategies, we have a number of initiatives, but today I would like to focus on mostly the new initiatives that we're working on because, like we all know, digital transformation, it was coming, it was there, but COVID-19 has definitely accelerated its process, facilitated the digitalization, and we are in the midst of implementing new initiatives. So I'll go through the financial and technical and capacity building support, just the representative initiatives today. So under financial support, we have the Tourism and SMEs Innovation Voucher Initiative. So why this voucher falls under the financial support category is that we just provide financial support in the form of vouchers to enhance the digital competency of tourism SMEs. So this is done through a matching service. There would be a supplier on the other end, tourism companies on the other side, and the suppliers would also have to apply for this initiative. And when companies have a need for, as you can see on the slide, for product development, consulting, or marketing, they can choose one and go for the matching service. So this initiative supports about 3 sectors, 6 programs within 13 service types, and will help the MSMEs if they want a particular service built into their business, they can apply for the voucher within this month, so until April, and then they'll be selected and they can use the voucher until November, and December will be for an evaluation month. So this project will run throughout the year. Next slide, please. Another part, sorry, I think it's next is technical support. As for technical support, we have a consulting initiative which consults MSMEs on their digital transformation. So this is to support the traditional travel operators to harness the digital transformation through new business model development and professional counseling. It pretty much sounds the same with the previous initiatives. The difference is that the previous one is a voucher, and this one actually gives you consulting services and makes you realize which parts are your weaknesses and what you need more to do in this digitalization process. So those are the key programs that you can look into later on. They tell you what the new trends of the tourism industry and ITC support mechanisms and overall management. Next slide, please. Another initiative that I wanted to mention is the TIPS initiative. It's short for Technology Incubating Program for Startups. Now, this initiative is very interesting because it started with, we have a ministry for SMEs and startups, and this ministry started this initiative to identify, uprising and very promising tech companies. So we're cooperating with the Ministry of MSMEs and Startups to identify those tech companies who have potential in tourism, or those companies who are willing to partner up with tourism companies. This is a private investment-led technology startup support project, which means that well, the private sector, the private investment funds, the companies decide to sponsor or invest into a particular tech company. And then from that part on, they suggest this company they have invested in to the government, and then the government decides to give further investment. So if the certain amount is invested by private investments like 100,000 USD, the government can give extra investment up to 620,000 USD. And what's interesting is that we have fifth cases. So as you can see on the non-tourism company, it was a drone design and production company, and it has drone technology, but then we kind of converged its business with tourism. So they are now producing a tourism content, which is called, well, in Korea, we call it night tourism. So these drones have lights and, they have the show on. So they have developed this tourism content for local festivals and tourist spots. Another example would be a tourism company. Originally, they did rental services, car rentals, and they also had the driver service. So it was a package, but then came along the big data and AI technology, and now they're providing recommendation services utilizing big data analysis. Slide, please. Okay, so if we move on to the capacity building part, actually we have had an interesting survey last year. 300 tourism MSMEs participated in this survey, and we asked if you need to learn or use IT skills in your line of work. And well, casino, tour operators, and MICE, these are all categories under our Tourism Promotion Act. So the casino industry said 100% they need these skills, and tour operators 82, the MICE industry 69, so this is pretty high. And then we also asked, when you're hiring new talents, are you going to look for these IT technology skills within these new employees? And hotel and accommodation sector answered up to 75%, and MICE was the following at 62.5. Despite the need, what the industry needs and what they're urging to have, digital capacity is not something that our tourism companies are harnessing at the moment. So starting this year, it's a new initiative. We have launched this initiative to provide digital capacity building for tour operators. Now, tour operators are I think they are the most devastated sector within tourism right now, maybe after aviation. But we have had financial support given to the tour operators, and most of it kind of ended near November last year. So they were trying to stay afloat with the government money they were being supported of, but now this COVID-19 pandemic is getting longer than expected. No one can know. So, and most of these tour operators are going out of business, or either giving their employees leave, unpaid leave. So we decided to maybe just take this chance and to give them training and education. So it will be like a 3 to 4 week course. We aim to do it for 10,000 persons within this year. It's going to be a start. This is actually only just 10% of the whole tourism workforce in Korea that we estimated. That's a start. And we're going to provide advanced levels courses like understanding the mobile system. I think students mentioned in the beginning that also the websites you go on cannot be shown into your mobile phones. And those little things that matter in tourism, the digital content creation, and even tourism operators right now, they do not have a hang of social media. So from the basic level to the advanced level is what we're planning to do. Next slide, please. And also, we, along the ministry, along with KTO, Korea Tourism Organization, we are also trying to build a new training center for future tourism talent and a separate education platform for the future generations, those who will try to work in the tourism sector to learn new digital skills. So we need some kind of place to educate them, right? So we'll be establishing this new training center until towards the end of next year. This year, it will be opening partially, and it will have training programs on these following courses, as you can see: tourism planning, marketing, utilizing IT technology, and so forth. And we're looking forward to the opening of this center as well. Next slide, please. Now, okay, that just went. Okay, I think that's my bad. I'll just read what's up in the slide. So the challenges that we face are, I think they're all pretty interlinked in a way. The fast-paced digital world, it's ever-changing. It's very high-paced, and the traditional tourism companies cannot they're not capable of following up. And the challenges that we're facing is that the skills and the necessary support that the private sector is asking us for them to do, for us to provide, sometimes it's an imbalance. It's the digital divide, the access of information and the communication. The information is just there. Some of them don't get the initiative, these good initiatives. Some part of the private sector have access to. And I think the most important thing is that, like any other government, I think now we're focusing more on to have our tourism companies survive this crisis first. Because if we do not have these companies afloat, after everything resumes, we won't have an industry or a sector to revitalize anyway. So it depends on do you want these companies to just survive this crisis, or is it just, do you take a stop, break, and prepare for the longer term? But I had an interesting meeting with some of the private sectors in the previous week, and they were like, you can teach us to catch fish, but right now I'm so hungry I can't not even go there. So it's a simple thing, like you just need to survive right now, and you're talking about later and later on. So I think these are actually the hands-on things that we need to focus on. Think about how to sustain these tourism enterprises, MSMEs, and then also to go into a longer run. And also, like as government, we have budget constraints. Like I talked about, we were organizing a capacity building program, but the private sector that I consulted with, they didn't know we had this program in the first place. So I think the information is not being carried around. And also, like I mentioned, that we're starting with a 10% of the whole tourism workforce. So I think we have a long way to go. Okay, I think that's all that I have prepared for today. I don't think Korea is one of the best practices. I think this is what most of our country economies are doing. And I think we need to collaborate together to see how we can move forward. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Deborah, for that really insightful presentation. I think you've actually brought up a few new topics which haven't been referred to yet or presented over the last couple of days. And so I'd like to draw attention to some of those because I see some real innovation going on in Korea. I also really appreciate the focus on the new technologies that you have in there. The fact that you have a plan for drone, VR and AR is really important. Drones we haven't spoken about at all in the last few days. We have talked a bit about VR and AR. Drone technology is going to be quite huge in tourism. In fact, it is a very disruptive technology. It's not just going to be large in tourism, it's going to work across many different aspects of the way we do things in this world. I think this is one of the really important things that we need to be considering across APEC. How do we accelerate people's transition from traditional job skills into these new support markets? Because in terms of how are we going to be able to support all these new changes into technology, are we going to be able to find enough skilled workers?
I think you really do have a good point on that. I think the important part is that we need to make tourism attractive again for youngsters or the upcoming. Maybe the skilled workforce already left tourism because of this pandemic, because of this crisis. They had to find a job or just to live for their survival. And I'm not sure if they are willing to come back even. We do say tourism is a resilient industry, but I don't think we can say or that, well, we think that maybe something similar might come back, and would tourism be struck hard again? I don't think people, young workforces will be attracted to tourism right now. So I think as governments, I think first thing is we need to promote tourism as a very attractive industry, and that it is really a resilient industry, and the government and the private sector were working together to realize this. And in order to make this happen, digitalization comes in this course to make it resilient, to build back better. So I think it has to go in line with those two.
So thanks very much for your presentation, for those wise words. I think there's a lot in there for us to consider.